So we have a question which is about one-shot MPC versus many-shot MPC. So in a one-shot MPC protocol, you compute a function once. So for example, you might want to be computing some sort of electronic auction, or you might be doing some voting protocol, and you basically do the election once, or you do the auction once. But on other times, you might want to execute a protocol where the output of one function is the input to the other. So for example, in a stock trading application where you're doing many auctions, the price for the next auction is almost a function of what's been traded on the previous auction. So the function you're computing and the thing you're doing is dependent on previous calculations. And that's why many-shot MPC is more applicable to many real-world scenarios than just a one-shot MPC. Someone has asked whether public key cryptography would have been possible in World War II. In essence, whilst the idea could have been around, couldn't have been used, because to do public key cryptography, you need computing machines, and computing machines were only being developed during World War II. In addition, a lot of the benefit of using public key cryptography comes from the commercial standpoint. So it turns out that whilst the Americans think they invented public key cryptography, in the mid-70s, 5 years earlier, it was discovered within the British Secret Service, and they called it something called non-secret encryption. But they never developed it because within a government situation, they didn't really see the commercial application of using public key cryptography. It's only when you combine the public key cryptography with the internet, with the people trying to make money, do you actually suddenly see the benefits. Someone's asked about electronic voting. You can actually use cryptography to do electronic voting. You can use cryptography to secure electronic voting machines, a bit like the machines that are used in the US, which aren't very secure. Or you can also use cryptography to do voting over the internet, to enable people to vote at their computer desk and encrypt their vote to a server, which is then able to add the votes up without knowing what's inside the vote. In some sense, this is a kind of basic application of multi-party computation. You have many people want to vote for Democrat or Republican, and they encrypt their vote, Democrat or Republican, and then you add up the votes to get the output of the election, but you can't work out what's inside each individual vote. So you get retained privacy of voting, but you've got a cryptographically verified output of the function